She's been a slow, Michael Jackson's Moonwalk was kind of fast. Elizabeth Warren's Moonwalk has been a little bit more
slow motion,
slower, a little bit more, a little more pizzazz rather than fast. So Elizabeth Warren, who in the first place, her Medicare for All plan just doesn't make any sense.
No.
And I love this tweet earlier from Brian Fallon. You remember he was Hillary Clinton's?
Oh, Brian Fallon. Just these people.
So Brian Fallon, I just can't. I just can't with these people. Let's show you the tweet with Brian Fallon. So Brian Fallon tweets out, "First, Warren figured out how to fund Medicare for All system. Now she is proposing how to navigate the Senate to get there. Nobody else is combining this level of ambition with this level of detail in the legislative tactics." Okay, first off, she did not figure out how to fund Medicare for All because her plan is rainbows and sunshines, and it is literally pie in the sky. I'm not a Hillary Clinton pie in the sky kind of person. I don't even think we need to discuss how to pay for it. I believe in modern monetary theory, and I think we already have the money to pay for it. We print money for war. We print money for the subsidies for all of the oil companies, all of the banks, all of the pharmaceutical companies. So we could just print money for the healthcare. Taxes don't fund federal spending, but that's a whole other issue, and we've covered modern monetary theory here. But before we get into her new transition plan, which is basically a political whistle for public option first.
Yeah.
We'll discuss Medicare for All later, Medicare for All in 3 years. To remind you, her plan, let's not get into when it's going to be enacted. Let's just talk about how she says she's going to pay for her plan. It's a head tax. It's an employer head tax. So all employers would have to pay $9,500 per employee. So if you are an employee making $200,000, or you are an employee, if you're an employer and your employee is making $200,000, you'd have to pay $9,500 for he or she making $200,000. If you're an employer and your employee is making $45,000, same deal, $9,500. So essentially, it's a flat tax. It's just the same no matter how much an employee is making. So what that's going to do, instead of just saying like every other country, yeah, Jen and I are going to pay a little bit more in taxes, but we're going to get a lot more in services. And we're going to save money because the tax increase is less than the healthcare costs we're paying already. Hence, which I hope Bernie starts calling it this on the debate stage, it's a tax cut.
Yep.
So instead of doing that, she's twisting herself into a pretzel to find other ways to pay for it so it doesn't seem like we are going to have to pay any more. But that's just disingenuous, because if you're charging if you're charging employers a head tax, what are employers going to do, Jen?
They are going to drop people down to freelance or consultants. They're not going to keep them on to give them benefits.
Exactly. And you want to know something? This is why healthcare shouldn't be linked to your employer.
Exactly.
Healthcare shouldn't be linked to your employer. And giving power to companies to then move you from full-time with benefits to freelance. The problem with that is, okay, so you'd be moved down to freelance with less hours, but you'd have healthcare, but then you have less hours, so you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're giving people healthcare, but not enough hours or work to pay the rent and pay the bills. I mean, for some people, going from, let's say, 40 hours a week down to 32, for actually not some people, most people,
yeah, absolutely.
Going down from full-time salary to hourly, and let's say 7 to 8 less hours could be the difference in paying the bills, the electric bill, all that. So her plan doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, can you imagine if Bernie Sanders said, oh, this other 7 to 10 trillion dollars, I'm going to pay for it by cutting the military budget. I think she said by hundreds of billions of dollars, which I agree with. I just don't believe she's going to actually do that because she's voted for all these massive military budgets.
Right.
And getting comprehensive immigration reform like that. Because it's that simple. It's that simple. But of course, Chris Matthews of Hardball and the Washington Post, they always say to Bernie, how are you going to get that through Mitch McConnell? Elizabeth Warren, we trust you.
Yeah.
She'll get it through.
She's got a plan, Jordan.
Right. So her plan is pixie dust. It's ridiculous. And now her transition, actually what her transition is changing what the original plan is. Her transition, and hey, close your ears if you can't handle this. I agree with Nate Silver.
Oh, it was bound to happen at some point.
Nate Silver tweeted this. This is Warren's plan. And finally, no later than my 3rd year in office, I will fight to pass legislation that would complete the transition to full Medicare for all. By this point, the American people will have experienced the full benefits of a true Medicare for all option. And why I say I agree with Silver here, Warren's language here is really not that far from Buttigieg's former position on Medicare for all, which is that the public option would naturally lead to transition to full Medicare for all once the public once they saw the benefits of it. This seems to be a pretty big hedge from Warren on Medicare for all, especially since 3rd year in office means after a midterm in which Democrats, like almost all parties in their first midterm after winning the White House, are very likely to have lost. So let's just establish some facts here. Bernie Sanders' plan is in year 1, we're going to lower the age to 55. Right now it's 65. In year 2, 45. In year 3, 35. And then in the last year, everybody. I prefer, Pramila Jayapal's bill, for example, which is 2 years, but whatever. I think Bernie, by making it 4 years, was giving a little bit to the establishment and not, scaring the living shit out of them. So if you want to talk about, this philosophy of giving the people something right away, because Elizabeth Warren, her transition is starting with a public option. A public option is not Medicare for all.
Not at all.
A public option is an option, and not everyone could get into it. So that's always been the problem with a public option. Whereas Medicare for all, if you start immediately lowering it to 55, people are going to be very happy. The success stories are going to be very happy. You're going to start seeing costs for healthcare go down when more people are on Medicare, rather than Elizabeth Warren is saying in her first year she'll do, I have it right here. First it will be a public option. Here we go. First 100 days. I'll pursue comprehensive anti-corruption forms to rein in health insurers, whatever that means. I'll use the tools of the presidency to start improving coverage and lowering costs immediately. Okay. I'll expand Obamacare and yada yada. I'll fight to fast-track budget reconciliation legislation to create a true Medicare for all option that's freeze for tens of millions of dollars. By the end of my first 100 days, we will have opened the door for tens of millions of Americans. Yeah. We don't want doors open. No. We want somebody who, from day one, is fighting for Medicare for all, full stop. Because to say, in my 3rd year, that's when I'm going to try completely Medicare for all. I'm going to do a public option first, rein in the insurance companies, whatever that means. That's not political reality, because like Nate Silver, again, he's right on this, is saying, you think after the Democratic Party possibly loses the midterms in, this would be 2022. Oh yeah, Elizabeth Warren, 2 years away from re-election, is then I'm fighting Medicare for all.
Yeah, right.
And by the way, you know what a good way for Democrats to actually win the midterms in 2022? What do you think would be a good way?
To go full throttle for
Medicare
for all.
By that point, you're talking 2022. By that point, everyone 55 and above would have Medicare. So you have a whole new generation of people probably want to vote for Bernie Sanders' party. And you also have, by that point, probably, since it would be 2022, 2021, 55, 2022. So you'd also have most people, or almost as people, 45 and above. This plan that she's doing, please don't record this, because I don't want a record that I am
let's never speak of this again.
praising Nate Silver. But he's absolutely right. The reason she is doing this is because she's a political calculator.
Yes.
That's it. Here's why. Relevant. Warren's strategy Buttigieg supporters may be a softer target than Bernie ones. Many Bernie supporters are committed to Bernie exclusively. A higher percentage of Buttigieg, 55%, than Bernie, 40%, are also considering Warren. So she's trying to soften the Medicare for All talk to get more of Buttigieg voters over to her.
It's so frustrating. I mean, this is why people call her a faux-progressive. She doesn't have conviction when it comes to this. And even if she truly did believe in Medicare for All, she's willing to compromise at this stage of the game. So if she's willing to compromise this much now, well, when it comes to year 3 of a supposed Elizabeth Warren presidency, how much is she going to compromise then?
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.